Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For connectors, cables, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by ICOM. Heard it? Worked it? Logged it. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information about ICOM radios.
It's Ham Radio with Neil Rapp. Here we go. Welcome to Ham Talk Live. Call in, let's talk. Neil's your guy. Ham Talk Live. Here we go on Ham Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone. It's time for Ham Talk Live. It's episode number 136. 2018 Jamboree on the air, recorded live on Thursday, October 11th, 2018. I'm your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight we're joined by Jim Wilson, K5ND, and Bill Stearns, NE4RD, and we'll take your calls live in just a few minutes. Last week here on the big show, Patrick Stoddard, WD9EWK, was here to talk about operating portable with satellites. And if you missed that, you can still listen anytime at hamtalklive.com or on our podcast version. It's on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeart Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, SoundCloud, or whatever your favorite app is. It's probably there. It's also available on YouTube, so be sure to check that out. Well, again, a bunch of announcements. October seems to be the time of everything happening, and so we do have several announcements, and the 100 watts in a wire fallout just started, actually, about 3 minutes ago. So make sure you get in on that this weekend if you can, and you can check out information on that at 100wattsinawire.com. And we're selling the Ham Talk Live limited edition t-shirts right now. We're taking orders for these. We had a request from mostly the satellite community. We did a little Twitter poll for the saying to put on the back, and the winner was, "May the grid square be yours." So if you're a grid square chaser, and the satellite people are by default, you might be interested in that. So if you want to order that shirt, just go to the link on Facebook or Twitter, or you can go to hamtalklive.com, but you have to click on the show schedule link, and then there's a link there that you can go and order the shirt, and then you can PayPal the cost of that, and we'll go for another week or two to get everybody a chance to get the orders made, and then we'll get those printed up and get those sent out. Also, next week is School Club Roundup, so get on the air and talk to some schools, and if you're at a school, get the school on the air next week. It's all next week, Monday through Friday, and then that rolls right into Jamboree on the air, which we'll be talking about here on the show tonight. And one last thing, the ARRL Division Director ballots are arriving in the mail. In fact, mine arrived today. And so if you're in the Central, Hudson, New England, Northwestern, or Roanoke divisions, and you're an ARRL member, you should be receiving a ballot very soon if you have not already. And so be sure you vote, and those are due back to Newington by November 16th. So please watch your mail for the ballot. If you don't get one, please let ARRL staff know. Otherwise, they're just going to assume that everything's fine and there's nothing wrong. So if that applies to you, I make sure you let them know, and they can take care of that. So get your questions ready to go here about the Scout and Jamboree on the air after we talk to Jim and Bill for a little bit. You can give us a call. I'll go ahead and give you the phone number. It's 812-NET-HAM1, 812-638-4261. So write that down and have it handy. We're not ready for you to call just yet, but it's 812-638-4261. Or you can Skype us if you'd rather. We're on Ham Talk Live on Skype. And you can send a question via Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @HamTalkLive. And we already have a couple of those in, so we'll talk about those and more with Jim and Bill right after this word from ICOM America right here on Ham Talk Live. Heard it, worked it, logged it. It's time to get the transceiver that is best suited for your lifestyle. ICOM offers a variety of high-performance and innovative products. See how you can make the most out of contest season with one of these transceivers. First, the ICOM IC7851, the competitive edge you've been looking for. Raise the bar and hear what others cannot with this flagship HF and 50 megahertz transceiver. It has reciprocal mixing dynamic range, crystal clear LO design, a spectrum scope, dual receivers, and digital voice recorder. The ICOM IC7610 is the SDR every ham wants, and just in time for contesting season. This high-performance SDR has the ability to pick out the faintest of signals, even in the presence of stronger adjacent ones. The new ICOM IC7610 is a direct sampling, software-defined radio that will change the world's definition of an SDR transceiver. Featuring RF direct sampling system, 110 dB RMDR, independent dual receiver, and dual Digicel. And then the ICOM IC7300 is changing the way entry-level HF is designed. This high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design will far exceed your expectations. With RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, a large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and an SD memory card slot. Be sure to visit ICOMAmerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
A flashlight is a case for holding dead batteries. Now, here's Neil Rapp with more Ham Talk Live.
Thanks to ICOM for sponsoring the show again tonight. We'll be talking about their involvement in scouting here a little bit later. And we're here on the show every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time right here at hamtalklive.com. And joining us tonight, Jim Wilson, K5ND. He's retired from the Boy Scouts of America headquarters, where he spent 21 years in publishing and communications, and now he's a freelance writer and continues to volunteer as chairman of the National Radio Scouting Committee, National Jamboree on the Air organizer, and a member of the World JOTA and JOTI team. He's president of the K2BSA Amateur Radio Association, and you can check them out at k2bsa.net. And over 172,000 scouts have earned the Radio Merit Badge and therefore formally exposed to amateur radio. Bill Stearns is a self-proclaimed nerd, enough so that he made his call sign NE4RD, and I couldn't be more proud. He was originally licensed in 1994 at the Melbourne Hamfest in Florida, which I was just at Melbourne here a few months ago, as KE4RGH. He was an active member of Civil Air Patrol and past president of the Amateur Radio Association of Southwest Florida. And while in Florida, he was active in contesting satellites and VHF. He's now in Billings, Montana, with his wife and 3 children. He's life member of ARRL and K2BSA, and he's active in stateside contesting with the Big Sky Contesters Club and Skywarn with the Yellowstone Yellowstone County Aries Group, and he's a software and systems engineer, podcaster, and generally a nerdy guy. You can find him on the Linux in the Ham Shack podcast, where he's been a co-host since May 2016, and also reporting on radio scouting on Amateur Radio Newsline, which means I get to listen to him multiple times in a week. So we had to pick on Bill a little bit. But Jim and Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's very good. We appreciate you having us on the show.
So Bill, we're going to try to keep you awake here. We were joking around that one of the things on the Linux and the Ham Shack podcast was a long time ago, before all these podcasts were around. Bill made the comment that it was the only podcast that didn't put him to sleep. So we're going to try not to do that. But
I promise
you're getting 2 weeks in a row on the show now.
Yeah, I'll be here for 2 weeks. I'm going to be like a permanent staple here.
So we'll talk a little Linux next week, but this week we're talking JOTA. So Jim, what's coming up with this year's JOTA?
Okay, well, it's this is the 61st Jamboree on the Air. It started in 1957. After the World Jamboree that was held in England, and the ham radio operators got together over coffee and said, this was fun. Why don't we do it every year rather than every 4 years at a World Jamboree? And so that's what they did. And it's always the third weekend in October. This year it's the 19th to the 21st of October. So that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Local time. So it's not like a contest where at 000 hours UTC it starts. It starts local time, and just get on the air and start making conversations with other scouts.
Well, let's talk a little bit first about how scouts and scout leaders can participate in this, and then we'll talk about just the general ham community. So first, what about the scouts?
The scouts can, for Jamboree on the Air, they can reach out to a local ham radio club or a ham operator. I always recommend that, particularly for ham operators that want to get engaged, that they start at the troop level or at the pack level. A lot of guys try to start at the bigger council level, and it's really hard to get things going there. In fact, I look over some of the local councils, and they have a lot going on in September and October. It's a big time in scouting. It's starting up. The scouting year is starting up. They're raising funds. They're selling popcorn. They're having their camporees while the weather is still okay. And so it's good to line up with a troop. So scouts can, ideally, their council is doing some promotion work about all the events in the council. Here in my own council, in the Longhorn Council, I've started helping them out through their international committee. This is part of the international area within scouting because it's a world event. And we have 11 different operations in the Fort Worth, Texas area. And we've discovered all the ones that are going on and facilitated a few. And then we publish, here's what's going on. Here's where you can go to get engaged with Jamboree on the Air. So I guess that's one way to do it. Is look to your local council, particularly the international representative of your council, who's in charge of Jamboree on the Air, Jamboree on the Internet. Although I will admit that some of them don't realize that, and also some councils don't have international representatives, so it can get a bit challenging. Let's see. The other way to do that is the website JOTA.info has a sign-up system where scout units can sign up and say, we're going to be on the air at this place, and give all the details about their operation. Well, all those are listed, and so you can do a search. You can search on the United States. You can search on your state or your city, and although it's certainly not foolproof, hopefully you can find something there and start start the search for where it's really happening.
All right, very good. Now, let's throw it over to Bill here for a minute. What about the non-scouts? What about the hams that just want to participate by getting on the air? What's the advice to them?
Absolutely. There's going to be a lot of opportunity to work scouts and scout groups that are out there activating these stations, especially with these, meager HF conditions we've been having. There's going to be a lot of groups trying to get on the air and make contacts that might not necessarily make a DX contact. So you just need to tune your band up to like the general portion of all the HF bands as an amateur and listen for CQ JOTA. You'll also find scout groups on PSK 31 and RIDI and probably this new thing called JS8 call. I've already seen several groups saying they're going to try experimenting with that as a method to get on the air. So they'll be looking for contacts and basically to get scouts to talk to other people through amateur radio. And if you can't get out to help a scout group, be your club or a local council, troop or pack or a crew, by all means, sit in the chair, sit in the club station, tune the band up there to the general portion and start looking for these groups calling CQ JOTA and help them work and understand how amateur radio works.
Anything to add, Jim?
Well, I would point out that on the K2BSA.net website under radio scouting, there's a listing of recommended scout frequencies. And so for each band and each mode, there are designated frequencies. The one that comes to mind is 20 meters, single sideband. It's 14.290. But while I say that, that's a place to call, but it's not the place to stay. And you want to move off that frequency. And it's also, I've heard this in the past, people say, well, I looked at the frequency, it was always busy, and so I didn't get to make any contacts. Oh, for goodness sakes, turn the knob on your radio and go someplace else. And,
or scroll the mouse. We're a modern amateur radio now. We have the mouse scroller.
Or the touch screen.
Yeah,
the
push
touch
the
screen.
touch screen. But call CQ, better yet, get a scout on there with that higher voice, that higher octave voice calling CQ. It's very distinctive, and people will tune into it. And for those, just as Bill was mentioning, it doesn't have to be another scout group. If they're calling CQ for a long time and nobody's responding, please respond and talk to them about what pack they're in, what city they're in, what they're doing in scouting, what they like about scouting. Tell them you earned the Radio Merit Badge in 1956 or so, whatever. Because it's a lot of fun to make those connections, and it's so helpful on the other side. They're out there patiently searching and growing a little frustrated. They got 20 Cub Scouts that are squirming behind them going, what's up with this? This is no good. And so you need somebody on the other end of the QSO.
All right. Yeah, that's always important to have somebody available to talk to instead of sitting there and spinning the knob or scrolling the mouse or punching around on the touch screen. So that's a good advice. Now, we've got to make sure to get you both off of this program on time tonight because you actually have a net coming up right after we get done. So tell us about that.
It's the USA Radio Scouting Net, and it's at 9 p.m. Central or 10 p.m. Eastern, etc. In the time zones. It's on Echolink on the conference server JOTA-365. And Chris Overbay, WA5DM, is the net control. And we have a pretty good turnout. It's once a month on the whatever Thursday this is of the month. Is it the second Thursday? Second Thursday. Okay. And so and we get a good turnout, and a lot of people just trading information about here's what I'm planning for Jamboree on the Air, or next month it'll be here's what went right, here's what didn't go right, and this month it'll be a lot of good questions about as they're getting ready to activate their stations.
Okay, so some more information on this after the show. Just hop on that JOTA 365 Echolink server and check that out after we get done here on Ham Talk Live tonight. Now, I know you've got a series of K2BSA portable whatever call district planned out. Maybe we'll throw this to Bill because I know you ran those down on Newsline here last week, I think it was. So tell us about the K2BSA call signs that are going to be used next weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. We of course have every call district except for the 0 call district reserved in our calendar, at least as far as I can tell right now. But what we do is we actually allow people at scout groups to reserve the call sign K2BSA in their calling area to run a portable operation. And of course, what's the best event to have that call sign at? The Jamboree, Jamboree on the Air. So it's always a fight to get that reservation in early and reserve it. So right now we have like K2BSA 1, Portable 1 is going to be out of Lenox, Massachusetts with Troop 8. We have K2BSA 2 is going to be out at Mays Landing in New Jersey. K2BSA 3 is going to be over in Old Town, Maryland. K2BSA 4 is going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. Portable 5 is going to be in Louisville, Texas. Portable 6 is going to be in Idlewild, California. That should be a big one. They normally have a huge turnout for that particular event there. Portable 7 is going to be in Bremerton, Washington. Portable 8 is going to be over at a fall camporee in Wheeling, West Virginia. And Portable 9 is in North Liberty, Indiana. So that's what I see here in the calendar so far. Those call signs should be active for the entire weekend. So definitely be on the lookout for any of the K2BSA portable calls. And if you're in the 0 call area and you want one for the weekend of for the Jamboree on the Air, this is the time to go ahead and send in that reservation, and you can do that at our website at k2bsa.net.
Well, mentioned too in the past we've had KL7 and KH6 use the K2BSA call sign, and I'll also point out that we get a lot of requests that where the call sign has already been reserved. We really can't have 3 K2BSA/4s out there as an example. But so what I always recommend is go look at the 1x1 call signs. So there's a lot of stations that go ahead and reserve, K4S or something like that for the weekend. And of course, I'm told, I've never done the research on this, but most of the call signs that involve BSA are already reserved for clubs that are part of scouting, including call signs like KB4SA, and so there you'll see a lot of BSA call signs on the air during Jamboree on the Air.
All right, well that's coming up soon, and again, if you're out there in the 0 call district, we may have a spot for you. So get on the website k2bsa.net and maybe you can finish off all the call districts there. Well, it is time for a break, but we're going to come back. We're going to take your calls, and we've got all kinds of other stuff we can talk about, but we'll give you a chance to chime in at 812-638-4261 right after this word from Tower Electronics right here on Ham Talk Live.
Hey, honey, have you seen the PL259s anywhere?
No, I haven't. Come on, kids. Let's go.
There's just one place to go for all of your connector needs.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
A giant warehouse of connectors and adapters for every occasion. Thousands to choose from in every shape, size, and color. And they have antennas, soldering supplies, cables, meters, and more. Where do you go if you want to buy a connector at a fraction of retail cost?
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
And this weekend only, take advantage of our special liquidation sale. Buy 9 solder-type PL259s, get the 10th one for just 1 penny. They make great Christmas presents. And what better way to say I love you than with the gift of a PL259?
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Hi, I'm Scott Cole, KB9AMM, president of Tower Electronics. I like the company so much that I bought it.
Tower Electronics, coming to a Hamfest near you or online at pl-259.com. And we're in the yellow pages under Amateur Radio Connectors.
My, wherever did you get that lovely PL259?
Tower Electronics, pl-259.com or call 920-435-2973.
Do we sell PL259 connectors?
Join the conversation. Call us on voice with Skype at Ham Talk Live or give us a call at 812-NET-HAM1. That's 812-638-4261. Now, here's more Ham Talk Live.
Here's the snap. Rapp takes the rig. He breaks through the pileup. He's on 80. Now 40. Now 20. 15. 10. 2 meters. Touchdown. Ham Talk Live.
Tower Electronics will be in Greenville, Tennessee on October 20th and LaGrange, Georgia on October 27th, but they're always at pl-259.com. Ham Talk Live is on the air every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern right here at hamtalklive.com. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and it's time now for your calls. So if you have a question for Jim or Bill, give us a call. It's 812-NET-HAM1, 812-638-4261. Or you can Skype us at Ham Talk Live on Skype. And also, you can tweet us at Ham Talk Live. And we've got a ton of notes here of things to talk about, so we'll keep talking, but you go ahead and call and we'll get you in here. First off, Jim, let's talk a little bit about some of the D-Star and DMR options here and some other things that are going on the bands at the same time that people need to be aware of.
All right. Yeah, they let's see, I'm pulling up the K2BSA.net website right now, and under the radio scouting menu, there is a tab called Scout Frequencies. And if you scan down that, it shows up, 80 meters, 40 meters, etc. for single sideband, CW, PSK. But there's also Reflector 033A is a full-time radio scouting and Jamboree on the air D-Star reflector. There's also DMR. There's some, I'm trying to look here if there's some talk groups.
Talk Group 310.
Okay, Talk Group 310. Brandmeister also has a talk group, 907. If I don't operate D-Star. I'm a DMR. I'm a D-Star guy. But there's a lot of activity on both of those. And the good news is there's no propagation involved, where the sun is not our friend these days. I see an all-star node number, IRLP, is also available. Echolink has two conference nodes, JOTA-365, where our net will be going on later this evening, and a Jambo is a node that actually Bill Stearns created to help us out. JOTA-365 was getting very crowded on Jamboree on the Air weekend, and so he added another one. So, anything else there, Bill?
No, it all looks all right. Yeah. Plus, you can also make contacts on APRS and Packet and everything else. So don't be afraid to try everything and anything to go ahead and create some Jamboree on the Air traffic. Okay,
and Jim, while we're talking about D-Star and that kind of thing, let's take a moment to talk about your partnership with ICOM.
Exactly. ICOM America is a tremendous supporter of radio scouting, Jamboree on the Air, and our Jamborees. And I'll recall just a quick story. Back in 2011, 2012, I called up Ray Novak and I said, Ray, I know you've been helping with Jamborees and loaning some equipment, but I want you to give the equipment this time around. And the phone was silent, and I thought, uh-oh. But as Ray always does, he was thinking about 20 steps ahead of me. And he said, I don't want to wait to the Jamboree. I want to start right now. And what he cooked up was 10 complete stations for loan to local scout councils. And that started, I think it was 2012. They started with IC 7200s, antennas, power supplies, the whole 9 yards in Pelican cases. Now they've been upgraded to IC 7300s, that great direct conversion radio, and they're out. They'll be on the air this Jamboree on the Air from a lot of scout councils around the U.S. And they also are the transceiver sponsor for Jamborees. That was 2013, 2017, and it will be at the World Scout Jamboree in 2019. And they also installed 3 repeaters at the Summit Bechtel Scout Reserve in West Virginia, where the Jamborees are held. A 2-meter analog repeater, a 440 analog, and a 440 D-Star repeaters. So they've been extraordinary partners to us. And we're talking to them now about a big promotion campaign to get hams on the air to work the World Jamborees so that we can, just like we were talking here, we need somebody on the other end of the QSO. And ICOM's going to help us beat the drum and get hams activated for that. So we're incredibly blessed with the support that Ray Novak and all the people at ICOM do for radio scouting.
Very good. And we're very appreciative of all that ICOM does for ham radio, and particularly the scouting part of things. So if you would like to get in the conversation here, give us a call. It's 812-638-4261 that you call to join the conversation. That's 812-NET-HAM1, or you can tweet us, as a couple of people did earlier in the week, or you can Skype us too, or Ham Talk Live on there. HR1ERL Ernesto wanted to know where to follow. We weren't too sure if it was the show or Jamboree on the Air. The show is hamtalklive.com, but tell us about the JOTA and JOTI website and of course K2BSA.net.
You bet. There's JOTA.info is operated by the World Jamboree on the Air, Jamboree on the Internet team. And there's 5 of us on the team operating that site, and it's where the sign up is. It's where all the information is about participating, and there's a fascinating new game there where you can actually enter just as you would at a real jamboree. You go in the main gate and go into the various aspects of the jamboree. Also mentioned, Jamboree on the Internet is an easy way to get involved, and there's JOTI.TV, where there's live TV going on. There's JOTI.radio, or JOTIradio.net or something like that. Just do Google. Org, is it org? Yeah, just
yes.
JOTI Radio, Google it. But they're interviewing people and playing music all through the weekend. I'm actually going to be interviewed there about the World Jamboree on Saturday. So that's a way to follow. Skype, watch the social media, Facebook, Twitter. That's one of my tasks for the weekend is watching those social media channels and responding to the queries that come up. And also, one of the things I do is I capture a lot of really cool photos. Watch for videos, too, on YouTube. One of my favorite activities is a Rube Goldberg machine. And so scouts make up these machines and videotape them and post them. Cool. And they're just a blast to see the really, really clever ones that they come up with. Lots of ways to participate in Jamboree on the Air, Jamboree on the Internet.
All right, and we do have a caller on the line, so let's see who we have. Welcome to Ham Talk Live.
Good evening, guys. It's Don, KD2YSI.
Hey, Don. Good evening, Don.
Good evening.
What's your question here for?
I may have missed it when turned off the stream to call in, but was wondering if there was any more tips for someone that might try doing their very first jamboree for a scout group.
Yeah, sure. There's you just do it. No. I did. I've done my first one several times because every time you do it, it's always different. And depending upon the size of the group, I feel that you can probably overplan it. I basically suggest just having the radios on and introducing yourself to the is it your own troop that's coming in, or is it just random troops that are going to be visiting you?
I probably would just try it for the group that we just joined like a couple weeks ago. So.
Oh, okay. So be familiar people. So I would basically keep it simple and introduce them to amateur radio, tell them all about the hobby, and then slowly get each one on the station. There is a complete operator's guide on our website, k2bsa.net, and it'll give you all kinds of hints and scripts and stuff like that the scouts can use when they get on there and actually talk to people. If you're going to do HF or DMR or D-Star or any of those, just simple questions, especially if they're younger, they might not know what to say. We tend to find that the older scouts tend to kind of wing it. So
anytime you get a kid on, whether it's scouts or in my situation at school or whatever, scripts are always a big help. So that they know what to say, and then they can kind of, like you said, the older scouts may kind of ad lib their way through it and wing it. But some of them have a little mic fright. So having a script there and making sure everything is working properly so that there's not a lot of fiddling around and dead time, I think are a couple of the key things here in any time you're trying to introduce young people of any sort into ham radio.
I'll mention too, on our website, on the k2bsa.net website, there's a Radio Scouting quick reference card. It's under the Radio Scouting tab in the menu. And the nice thing about it is and Tom Schuessler, N5HYP, and Chris Shanahan, KE5KPC, created this card. And it's got a place for the call sign to be written in, and the phonetics for the call sign, and then what cue signals mean. But probably as importantly, there's 45 questions on that card for the scouts to ask to help them. But they're absolutely right. The scouts come in and they're really frightened about, or maybe it's not fright. It's just they don't know how to use the microphone, or they're just maybe a little bit timid about it. But now the group that you're going to be with, will you be at a camp out? Or what will be the setting?
Don't even know. Like I said, we just joined, so nothing's even planned at this point. But I thought if I was going to offer to try doing it, that I'd at least ask some people in the know of some better ways, or at least some tips on how to get it going.
Yeah, it's. I think it's mostly actually a best practice, and this is a little maybe over the top, is we at the Jamboree we taught a radio merit badge class, and the first part of the class was about how do you speak on the radio? What are cue signals? What are the questions to ask? How does it go? When do you say your call sign? When does the other person? Do you say over? Those sorts of things. And when the scouts showed up in the station, they really knew what to do. They had a good feel for it. They didn't have as much mic fright. So that's probably an over the top example, but it gives you a snapshot that says, brief them on this is what's going to happen and this is how you participate. And you find maybe the most eager scout, and ideally it's a small group around the radio, although I've got some pictures of monster groups, but you find a scout that's a little bit more outgoing, and they get on the radio and they can demonstrate to the other ones how it works. Just calling CQ can be kind of cool as well. But Bill's has the good perspective. Turn on the radio, call CQs, see what happens, and then you'll know what to do differently next time.
Yeah. Well, Don has an advantage too. He can also show him some satellite working. So that was pretty interesting, seeing the kids at the National Jamboree watching a satellite QSO in progress up on Garden Ground Mountain. The kids really, really were interested in how that worked. And then you get to spend, the few minutes of the contact of the bird flying across doing that. And then you can sit there and discuss exactly what happened, because that really kind of shows them what are the possibilities of amateur radio.
Yeah, we got some good feedback when we did our club did a merit badge thing. I think it was last year. Yeah, the satellite pass was the highlight. It really sold the kids on amateur radio at that point. I think about 3.5 hours later, they were singing a different tune, but the story.
That's a typical merit badge class.
Well, yeah, it was an overnight camp out too. So like the kids were having fun, but they wanted to run around and play basketball or something. But anyways, it was a good time. All right, I'll let you guys go so maybe someone else can jump in. Thank you very much and have a great night.
Take care.
Thanks for calling, Don.
Yeah, thanks for calling. Good luck.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll mention my own. I went out and did a demonstration for a venturing crew locally, a satellite QSO, and right from the start, everything went wrong. The wire broke loose from the battery. For some reason, I couldn't get my transmit working. Didn't have the frequencies right or whatever. But lo and behold, we were at least able to hear the satellite come over. It was FO29, and we came back into the ham shack that they have at this camp, and we briefed them on here's what an orbit is and all that. But they said, well, we learned how to troubleshoot. We heard that what goes on the satellite, and They were kind to me, actually, but they seemed to get a lot out of it. But it was, I called it an epic failure. But still, it made an impression. I hope a good one.
Well, we are just about out of time, and I've still got a couple of things here, and I don't want to keep you guys too late here, but you mentioned a badge swap on Slow Scan.
Yeah, the one of the things that World JOTA JOTI team is promoting this year is a badge exchange. Now, I'll mention in Europe and probably the rest of the world, other than the U.S., they're called badges. Here in the U.S., we call them patches. But it's that's something that Scouts do. They trade patches when they're face to face, and what they're trying to do is a Slow Scan TV badge exchange. And I know that GB2GP, which is in Gilwell Park, where scouting basically was founded, is going to be on the air, and they've said they're going to be very active with a Slow Scan TV badge exchange. So that's something cool to check out.
And there's something cool going on over in Westchester, Ohio, and Jocelyn, I bet, is here to talk about it. Good evening, Jocelyn.
Good evening, Neil. Nice to be on, and Jim and Bill, nice to hear your voice. I'm sure we'll get to meet soon, some either Hamvention or something, because we're close by there. But I just wanted to chime in. I heard the gentleman saying, what do I do? And kind of comparing to what Jim was saying, which is, just do your best. I think the first year is always rough. You never do everything right. Things are going to happen. But the kids don't really care. They're just there, and they're just happy to be talking to somebody. So the most important point is to make sure they make a contact with somebody. It doesn't have to be DX. It could be local, and just get that bug in them of like, we're talking on this wire and stuff. So that's my advice. And yes, as I've mentioned, the Voice of America Museum will be hosting Jamboree on the Air for any Scouts in the area, the Cincinnati, Dayton area, that wants to come down and see us. Free access to the museum. So if there's a queue to get on the radio, just go to the museum, come back, check in, and if there's a spot open, sit down, and we'll make a QSO with whoever we can get a round up for Jamboree on the Air.
Awesome.
Very good,
Jocelyn. I wanted to mention, too, to the listeners, Jocelyn had a feature article in our newsletter that was released this morning. And I thought it was a perfect story, one of actually during last year's Jamboree on the Air, it looks like 5 different stations worked one another, all in the same frequency, getting the Scouts engaged. But as importantly, Jocelyn described how he was introduced to amateur radio some 30 years ago, lost it along the way, but picked it up. We're planting seeds, and when Scouts are introduced to Jamboree on the Air, they might catch on fire right then. Or it might be 30 years later, as with Jocelyn case. But comments, Jocelyn?
No, you're exactly right. It's planting that seed, and as I've mentioned before, it's not everybody's cup of tea. Radio is not going to appeal to everybody, but I want the Scouts to come in, see what it is, and leave knowing there's a hobby out there, and this is what it is. And as Jim mentioned, may not take fire instantly. It may take some time. But at least they're aware in the back of their mind of, hey, I did this radio thing, and that was really cool. And as Neil knows, we're pretty lucky there to have have our shack inside the Voice of America Museum here in Westchester, and having that means that they can come back. We're open every weekend. If they want to get in, do more radio, we're there. What happened to me was the gentleman that did the Jamboree on the Air for us eventually moved away, and I never knew what it was called until much later in life. So anyways, I know you guys got to run. I know you've got your nets going on, so I'm going to say thank you, Neil, and look forward to try to get as many JOTA contacts as possible in 2 weekends.
All right, Jocelyn, thanks so much for calling in. We'll see you soon.
All right, thank you, and good luck.
Yeah, thanks for calling in. Great.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, well, we didn't talk about the rating strip thing. Do you want to take a minute for that? Or yeah.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we had some discouraging news over the last few weeks. I think it's the Awards, Insignia, and Uniforms Committee of the Boy Scouts of America announced to us that they were discontinuing the amateur radio operator rating strip. And for those of you who don't know, that particular strip, if you have a ham radio license, sew it on your left sleeve. And so it was a great incentive for scouts. After they'd earned the radio merit badge, we'd say, for about an equal amount of investment of your time in taking the test, you can get your license and you can sew this patch on. And the old adage is, nothing happens in scouting without a patch. Well, that was perfect. It was perfectly positioned. But the Awards and Insignia Committee decided that they're not doing these kinds of things. They're not doing it more broadly. Their official statement is on the K2BSA.net website, and read that over. And of course, the patch was for adults. It was for youth. I think we've gotten some comments there that the committee seemed to take this more from a adult perspective rather than the scouts. But it is unfortunate. But the other part of that news is any scout patch, any uniform, even though it's discontinued, can still be worn. It doesn't have to be stripped off your uniform or anything. And so if you've got them, sew them on. If you've got them sewn on, leave them on. So that's kind of the good news there. It's not going away. It's just that BSA Supply won't be selling them anymore. They still have them in stock, so order them up. But disappointing. And as I told Neil before the show, I wrote about 5 different emails, all of them dripping with venom and flames around the edges. And then I toned it down and I said, well, they're not going to change their mind. How can we make this the best, and how can I get the right word out for everybody? And we were able to do that. So disappointing for sure, but don't take it off your uniform.
Okay, very good. Well, I got to get you guys off of here so you can get to your net. But thanks so much for coming on and talking about it. And hopefully we can get a lot of scouts on here in just a couple of weekends. So thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you for having us. And you're even inviting Bill back next week. So that's cool.
I know. We'll see how that goes. So, next week we'll be talking Linux. So get out your penguin tuxedo and we'll see how that goes. So, well, that is a wrap for this week's edition of Ham Talk Live. Thanks to Jim Wilson, K5ND, and Bill Stearns, NE4RD, and everybody out there in cyberspace for listening and calling in. And invite you back next Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Russ Woodman, K5TUX, and crew will be here to talk about Linux in the Ham Shack. And for a list of all of our upcoming guests, just visit hamtalklive.com. And don't forget that USA Radio Scouting Net happens in just a few minutes if you're listening live, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, on Echolink Conference Node JOTA-365. So this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7375, and may the good DX be yours.